Hey, what's happening? Good morning, peace and love, and welcome to the Lights of the Round Table. This is Darius A. Stanton, and we are here all pumped up and ready to go, pumped up and ready to go. Win, all pumped up and ready to go, pumped up and ready to go. Win. Yes, indeed. And at this time, I'd like to bring to the stage our queen of the Lights of the Round Table, none other than Darlene Brown. Peace and love, queen.
Peace and love, grateful grand rises to you, King, and everyone that is tuning into the show this morning. We are so excited of our topic today and to have you join us. So remember, if you're watching us live, share. We want everyone to get this great light energy. Over to you.
Hey, no doubt about it. So I'm excited because today we have another bright. You all remember that game we played? We're all in the same space, age-wise. Light, it's a beautiful light.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Well, good. I'm so glad you remember it. You have a light, bright. It's a beautiful light. Yeah. But before I give the light, as a matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a video that's going to introduce the work that this queen is doing because we're celebrating Juneteenth.
Yeah.
It's important because not only are we acknowledging it, but it is finally being acknowledged that Black people in America were treated like dogs. I mean, dogs. Did I say dogs? Oh my God. Because dogs are treated good.
Dogs are treated better than us.
You know? But before I bring on and introduce Dr. Rhonda Hamilton, I'm going to allow this video to speak for itself. So ladies and gentlemen, check out this video and know that we have something. We're going from trauma to triumph.
Yes.
Trauma to triumph.
Hello, DC, and hello across the nation. This Juneteenth Day, the Healthy DC M.I Leadership Coalition is inviting you, that's right, you, to celebrate with us our culture as we boldly unveil and introduce the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center, which is slated to be built in our nation's capital in the spring of 2023. Join me and all of our friends from the community for our fundraising Jubilee event on June 19th, 2021, starting at 4 p.m. We're going to rock the Harborside Hotel in celebration of the liberation of our people from the District of Columbia and the nation. That's right, free admission to all. Together, June 19th, 2021, starting at 4 p.m., we're going to celebrate an end to yesterday's systems of old. That's right, no more standing by while our babies destroy themselves in the communities that we live in, no more carrying our fathers' burdens, and absolutely no more shame for what, who, or that we are. On this Juneteenth Day, June 19th, 2021, that is, join us for a fabulous virtual and live entertainment experience as we bring the house down in the shadows of the harbor outside of our nation's capital. Come celebrate with us in person or virtually. Share this video. Share the message. Our power is our history. It's time to unite. Won't you join this daughter of addiction and schizophrenia? Join our trauma center movement. Help us to re-educate, reintroduce, and retell our stories to help save us. The Push Black organization's depiction of what Black liberation is tells us that we don't get to keep complaining about the gaps in care that we're subjected to or the lower standards that we face with our health care matters of addiction, mental health, you name it. Guys, when will we build our own? Well, the Healthy DC M.I Leadership Coalition is proud to present the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center, a facility built for us, by us. Let's celebrate together on June 19th, 2021 at 4 p.m. This event will be live streamed. Find out more at capitalcityemergency.org.
All right. It speaks for itself. All I can say is congratulations.
Yeah.
You did it well. So let me tell you how excited we are about the fact that, you brought the noise. You brought the noise to the District of Columbia,
Yeah.
the nation's capital. Dr. Rhonda L. Hamilton, excuse me. Congratulations, and thank you so much for being a new member of the Lights of the Round Table. Welcome to the Lights.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. Yes.
So we are a celebration. I would be remiss if I did not thank my queen for allowing me to be here. She is 2 sheets to the wind. While we celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary, as I told the sisters before we started today, I got a new sign, not just peace of love. Okay, you see this? Stop to love, but 2-5, right? 2-5. We celebrate 25 years. Okay, 2-5, 2-5. Yeah, 2-5. And I thank God for his good and righteous ancestors that blessed us and allowed us to be where we are today, and so I'm so grateful for that. And so grateful for my queen for supporting me, loving me, being patient with me, giving me that unconditional love and support, guiding me, correcting me, pulling me up, just all the things that she's done, really to enhance my soul and my spirit, our family. And so we are so blessed. And we wouldn't be here if it weren't for family. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for our good and righteous ancestors, for the people who prayed for us, for the people who intervened, who set up mosques. And so that's what we're talking about today. We went through, I don't have to spend a lot of time at all talking about the horror and trauma of slavery. Right now, I'm in the Southern Caribbean, in an island called Curacao, which was a slave for the Caribbean.
Yes.
And they've got fists all around the island where they talked about their liberation from the Dutch, and how horrible it was. They have huts here where the slaves slept in just a box. 50, they probably had to almost basically stand up and lay on top of each other. That they locked in at night and then let them out. 50 in a room, basically. Like, just think whatever your master bedroom might be, that size, 50 people sleeping in it.
That's a lot.
Not going to the bathroom at night, none of that. You know about the journey from the Middle Passage coming across. We deal with everybody else's Holocaust and don't want to deal with our own. But we're going to triumph from tragedy and trauma to triumph. So, Dr. Rhonda L. Hamilton, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Let's set the stage. So, first of all, you heard about the event. You have a big event coming in. It's a launch. Tell us, what brought you to form your organization, M.I, My Mother's Keeper, and then to go into developing, this coalition of dynamic people who are thought leaders from all over the place. When I read the background of the paper, the white paper you all put together, Darlene, was it what? Hey, look, this must have been done in Timbuktu, because Harvard was on a nutty month. I mean, it was so, the white paper was so thorough. It talked about the trauma in addictions, the trauma from slavery, the trauma from abuse, the trauma from other forms of domestic violence, the trauma in homelessness, the trauma from gun violence, all those things that, we deal with that are not being addressed. So, Dr. Hamilton, first of all, God, thank you. But just give us a sense of what made you create, My Mother's Keeper, and then tell us about the launch.
Absolutely. And again, thank you. You broke all that down so wonderful. Yes, we have a lot of work to do. And as many folks have heard me mention before, I am the daughter of schizophrenia and of addiction. And, in our communities coming up, those are some fancy words. What schizophrenia is, it was just she was known as the crazy lady, my mom was. And so as a child, the impact that has on a child, not to mention that a lot of the history of the research for mental health back when I was coming up, it was, we were told, hereditary was an option. And so, of course, being a daughter of addiction and schizophrenia, I'm walking around wondering when it'll hit me. And so the reality is that obviously, we have seen the effects of what a pandemic will do for our mental health, not only independently, but as a nation. But prior to that, when our organization was started, and what prompted me to start it, my mom, my beautiful mom, who is a native of the District of Columbia and has received a lot of her mental health care through the current District of Columbia's mental health system. And one of the things I saw as a little girl was that the lack of stability in the home, and what that made me feel like on the community level, not being able to identify or properly communicate the feelings of insufficiency that were coming over me, and the concerns I had for the trauma in our family that played out day in and day out, just because of the mental health. So M.I. Mother's Keeper was born out of a need we felt to create a platform to raise awareness, because what we saw were a lot of unhealthy folks walking around, and the picture looked so familiar to me, Darius. The reality of so many people living in what we call suppressed mental states, and we're seeing the effects of that. We were just talking about that the pandemic has exposed a lot of what we weren't aware of, and so many folks are walking around as ticking time bombs. And so we truthfully started the organization to not only raise awareness, but to improve the quality of life for the children who are trapped in these families. Because I was a child trapped in a family of unhealthy adults. And the truth of the matter is, it was important to talk about it, because many children of mental health and developmental growth issues are touched. And abuse is something that is synonymous with the trauma that many of us carry, whether we are male or female. And a lot of times it's hard to talk about it or even to acknowledge it. But what research has taught us and what history has taught us is that we've got to reveal it if we expect to heal it, and we've got to go through it in order to get to the other side. And so our platform was created to talk about something in a community that is taboo. The stigma is so thick. And when we say stigma, a lot of folks still don't know what I'm saying. The fact that the hatred or the meanness comes out in our communities when there are topics of discussion that we don't understand or that we don't want to have to identify with, the labeling. So our platform was created to invite folks that have these realities into a safe space, a comfortable place where they could begin to talk about and obviously address those circumstances that they feel were hindering their ability to live their best life. And a lot of folks are just lost and need help, need a hug. And we were just getting away from what we felt genuine human kindness. So we thought if we created a space where we could have this conversation, remind folks that mental health matters, and then start to begin to re-educate them about what they thought mental health was. Because dealing with today's mental health from yesterday's understanding is just dangerous and not effective. And in our opinion, that's what we see playing out in the streets of Washington, D.C. We've got to upgrade what we understand mental health to be. And it's not always about the folks that are diagnosed. A lot of times it's about the folks that are not on the radar, that have been living in these suppressed mental states. Yeah. And sometimes we don't catch it until they act out. And sometimes them acting out, someone loses their life.
Oh, that is so true. A couple of things that you mentioned in your opening statements, where we talk about its behavior that we don't want to talk about because it is enveloped in shame, shame and guilt. And human behavior struggles with acknowledging anything that they believe makes them feel less than. Right?
Absolutely.
Less than good enough, less than
absolutely
up. And so shame prevents us from having the courage to actually have these types of discussions, because they are necessary. They are necessary in order for us to open the door to understanding what we don't know.
Absolutely.
We don't know. See, we often run away from what we don't know that we don't give ourselves the opportunities to be introduced to understanding. So when we run away from it, we stay stuck in behavior that is not healing, that is not healthy, that is not compassionate, because it's shrouded and covered in shame. And then it's running away from, I don't want to tell you that I really don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? And so
Absolutely.
we have to stop that. It's okay to not know.
Come on now.
You know, at 54, is so much I don't know. And the longer I live, the more God reveals to me that, oh, I don't know what I thought I knew. You understand? I don't even know what I thought I knew.
That's right.
It's changing that way. The other thing I want to say is there's been consistently in our communities and in our culture what I call self-medicating. We self-medicate because we are in so much pain. There was a song written by the late, great James Brown called Escapism. And in it, he said, we are all looking to escape from our reality. And the reality of Black and brown people is suffering. That is not to say that we have not seen us rise above like the phoenix, because we have, and we know that we are. But there are so many of us, and so many of us that gets the massive spotlight of media that shows us in our desolate state, our broken state, our struggling state, our drug addiction state, our mental illness state that we don't even know. And we strung out on drugs because we're in so much pain. We're trying to numb it because no one has helped us to understand that it's pain and then help us know what to do with it.
That's right.
And judge us and throw us in jail for trying to self-medicate from the pain of the trauma.
Come on now. Unbelievable. You said that so well.
We gotta do better.
Yes, we do.
We gotta do better. And it starts with you. So here's what my message is, and I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Doc. I want everybody, when they start seeing people acting a fool, Black, brown, it don't matter. You need to take a moment and stop right there and say a prayer over them.
Come on now.
Those are broken people. Those are wounded people.
Come on.
Those are unclear people. They get wrapped and shrouded in so much darkness, they can't see any light.
That's right.
The moment when you see that, pray for them.
That's right.
There's power in prayer. And
that's
call
right.
on the angels to heal
Come on
them.
now.
So that they can be separated from the bondage of pain, so that healing of light and love can begin to go in. Because that's what you did for healing, light and love. And I'm speaking from my own journey. Thank God that I opened up to the light and the love of those that he sent into my life, or I wouldn't be who I am today sitting before you.
That's right. Awesome. You said that really well.
Wow. I tell you, so much to cover, right? So I got to be thorough. I'm going to tell you, I got to be super thorough. Shout out to our good brother, David Witherspoon, one of our lights that continue to support us. Hashtag the lights are on. If you watch the show right now, we need to celebrate the triumph.
Yes.
Right? That we are in right now. We're in a spirit where our good and righteous ancestors are praying for us. They are opening doors for us. They are closing doors for us. They are stopping us from going places. All we got to do, as the sister said before we got on, is just submit to the universe and God's will. You know, and once we do that, he will open the doors. Look, he put a Dr. Rhonda Hamilton in my life. You know
Come on now, Darius.
In my life. He put a Marcus in my life. You see what I'm saying? I mean, in order for me to be who I am, I need people around me. I feed off the energy that are going to support me, that are going to pull me up.
Amen.
That are going to help me, that are going to, be that shoulder for me to lean on, for me to be, just the very best that I can be. And so as we do that, thank you, James J. Smith, Jr., our good brother, for joining us as well. The lights are on. If you believe in the show or something hits you and then you feel it, first of all, like it, then share it, and jump over to YouTube, push that positive news, Lights of the Round Table, the Lights of the Round Table, Darlene Brown, push that, share that, subscribe. That's right. And then let us see the hearts. Let people know that you're engaged and you're fully in tune to understanding the value of who we are and what we're working to do. So this coming Saturday, give us the details so as people come in, we can time in, and then we're going to bring it to what we're doing. Here's what's happening this coming Saturday.
Yes, we are so excited. Thank you so much for having me again. This Saturday, Juneteenth Day, historically Juneteenth Day, the first one that has been federally recognized. How about that?
Come on.
Who knew, right? God knew. Well, for the better part of 2 years, the Healthy DC and Me Leadership Coalition, you heard me talk about M.I. Mother's Keeper, which was our mental health advocacy platform. What we saw happening is that in our beautiful town of DC, of which I'm a native, Ward 8, Southeast DC to be exact, what I saw was disheartening. Our children didn't know their living history. As you mentioned, our folks were self-medicating, walking the streets. So the scene just was so dismal. And when we looked at where the funding and the appropriations and all of the boom was going in the city, I'm a former real estate broker. So obviously to see the development going on, that traditionally represents progress and growth. But what we didn't see in the communities that we were with our programming and our outreach, there was not this same level of progress and growth. And when we looked at the landscape, we realized that there were other organizations on the ground that were as concerned as we were with the state of affairs, for lack of a better word. And so Healthy DC and Me Leadership Coalition was formed by myself as a way of reaching out to other stakeholders so that we could maintain the autonomy of our independent organizations, which were powerful in their own right. But we know that there's power in numbers. And let's just face it, we live in a political town. And so the reality of trying to get issues and things brought to the forefront started to become challenging, things that we saw needed from the community level. And so Healthy DC and Me Leadership Coalition was formed. And it was formed for the sole purpose of being able to help address the inequities we saw primarily with health, but most importantly with the social determinants of housing, being hungry, you name it. Our transitional citizen situation is a challenge. We saw in a city where we're always debating over one institution, one project, that's supposed to serve the masses of trauma and issues that we have in the community east of the river, specifically where our programs have set down. And so what Saturday's representation is about is the culmination of over almost 2 years of planning of our coalition to be able to come forward with what we feel will be a wonderful, wonderful addition to the community as a whole. It's the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center. And why that's what we feel important is because, as most of you are aware, yes, we have a beautiful $300 million hospital project coming to the former grounds of the St. Elizabeth Hospital. The challenge we feel with that hospital and project, and we're not alone, and our website, healthydcandme.org, spell and out, we give you the information that we were able to research and understand to support the reality that the level of trauma and homicides and death and overdosing and self-medicating, you name it, the repetition of that is warranting, we feel, a level 2 at least. Now, west of the city, we've got at least 4 level 1 facilities from a hospital standpoint. But of course, as you can imagine, east of the river, we've got a drought. And what we saw is that this.
Let me, excuse me for cutting you off. Let me take people back just to kind of make sure we understand and wrapping their minds around what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
So this coming Saturday, you will be launching a fundraising effort and the whole initiative to create the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center, which will be housed in Southeast Ward 8, the District of Columbia, but to serve the entire capital, but focused on the area where the trauma is most prevalent.
Absolutely.
And number 2, this is a model that is being created and developed by the greatest minds in mental health, in architecture, in terms of design, as well as a holistic approach with regard to health. And so we're not just dealing with pharmaceutical and your traditional medicines. We're dealing with yoga, meditation,
absolutely,
natural health in terms of natural foods, non-GMO foods, things that are really going to impact the body and not just be a short fix, which our medical system here in the Western world really is fixated on. Absolutely. One more pill, one more shot,
Absolutely.
one more, day after day after day, just being tied to something that is really destroying your liver and your kidney or some other part of the body.
Absolutely.
Anytime you watch a cartoon, I called it. Anytime you watch a pharmaceutical commercial, in the first 10 seconds is about this great thing that's going to stop you from having diabetes. And the next minute and 20 seconds is going to tell you that you might go blind, you might have diarrhea, you might have kidney failure,
Absolutely.
you might have this, you might have that. And then it comes back again and says, but it's going to bring your diabetes numbers down. Well, it's going to do all these other things to the body. But in this case, you all are creating something that right now does not currently exist. The residents of the District of Columbia, the new facility would take them, if they're with all of the shootings, with all of the trauma that takes place in Ward 7 and 8, and they're going to take them across town, come in and give you triage. You basically just work on you a little bit and then put your life at risk by putting you in some vehicle or some mode of transportation to take you to the other side of town, unload you, then bring you into a space and work on you in the top of the line, a level. And what's that level trauma center?
Level 1, of course, the highest one, level 1. And you Darius, you just broke that down so wonderfully. I tell you, the reality of us still operating in that fashion post George Floyd, when everyone was supposedly awoken to the realities of what we deal with in these communities when things are so lopsided. You're so absolutely right. That's exactly the plan, to triage and send them across the water. I understand that plan also comes with these what they call urgent care. Well, I don't know any urgent care that's treating trauma and gunshot wounds. So again, these what we call glorified clinics are not really what we feel going to be enough. And let's be fair. We just wanted to be able to make sure we were covering the gap. And we've been standing in the gap for some time, raising the mental health awareness, watching the landscape, and understanding what our city's efforts have been. And the truth of the matter is, the trauma center model, if you are familiar with Tyson's Corner, Reston, Virginia, Reston Hospital built a standalone emergency center in Tyson's Corner. And what we rationalized was that we didn't have to bring a whole nother hospital, but we did need a trauma center that was going to be equipped with the ability to address the gun violence and the gunshots and the horrors of what these families are dealing with. And also, as I mentioned, there are social determinants that a center such as this is needed for, because this center also is projected to have a community outreach resource center attached to it, so that families and individuals being discharged from the trauma center will also have the ability to have an advocate assigned to make sure that the linkage to services for them as they go home are in place. It'll be a 24/7 facility, meaning that when our transitional citizens are being discharged and have nowhere to be at God hours of the morning, we have the ability to receive them and transition them to a linkage of services, as opposed to them having to end up on corners or walking aimlessly through the city. So there are many remedies for the way that our folks are living in DC Southeast that we are seeking this trauma center to be able to answer. And we feel really good about it. And as Darius, you mentioned, we have a wonderful team of support. Our board of advisors spans so many different generations and levels of wisdom. I invite you all to take a look. Don't take my word for it. HealthyDCandme.org is the website that houses all of our wonderful folk. In addition to that, we've got a wonderful level of community support from our small businesses and organizations. So we didn't need anybody to tell us it was a good idea, although we appreciate it, because if everyone is as tuned in to what's playing out in the streets of Washington, D.C. as we are, we were just, so frustrated with the reality that we can keep hosting press conferences and we can, keep putting the yellow tape up and keep talking about police reform. But what we've got to do from the community level is show up. Because if we want our people to put the guns down and we want our babies to understand something different than carjackings and murders, we've got to come back to the table. And the reality of the culturally appropriate resourcing has to come into play, because we keep wondering why our millennials and our younger populations are so disconnected from their history. Is because we're not there to help them to understand and navigate it and to hold them accountable for such. And this project, we're seeking to accomplish a lot, but we're most proud of the fact that it will provide a piece of real estate in the community in the midst of this gentrification from a positive standpoint, so that when the dust settles, we have progressively joined the conversation.
This is I'm singing, I'm shouting, I'm screaming. Anybody that knows me for the last 10 years or just 30 years in my adult life, have been focused on peace and love, right? Mm-hmm. And the opposite of that is trauma and pain. Mm-hmm. And the word HATE that I don't even say, I just spell it. I don't focus on the HATERS's. I don't focus on that. I focus on what we are talking about today, and that's how do we heal and how important it is for us to deal with the trauma. We understand that hurt people hurt people.
Absolutely.
Early on, we talked about the touching of children, and how children are touched by just secondhand trauma, meaning they watch their mother being beat. They watch their father, being abused. They watch their daughter. Just know that your sister's in the next room being sexed by grown men.
Come on now. Come on.
That your mother, sent you as a little boy to go have sex with a man. Because
drug habit.
They drugs. Or a woman sets her child outside in the hallway because her boyfriend is coming over and you can't be in the house.
Come on now. Speak on it, Darius.
Sleep in the hallway. Listen to what I'm saying there. Listen to what I'm saying. Share this show. Put this out there. Make sure people understand the dynamic of what we're talking about and what our children are living in, right in the nation's capital.
That's right.
Who the president is, who the mayor is.
Come on.
Directly to impact and break this cycle of trauma and pain.
Not only that, Darius, the layers of it, right? So
come on now.
Example of what is happening when a mom or whatever sits her child outside of an apartment because her boyfriend. Let's talk about the layers of trauma.
Absolutely.
Because not only do you experience a child where the parental relationship we talk about is the first trust relationship, the first covering, and loving. That's that first relationship. So now trust is ruined for this young girl at the base level. Fear is gone through the roof because she doesn't even feel protected from the maternal relationship. So fear is through the roof. She trusts no one.
Come on now.
Her self-esteem, her self-love, her self-worth, her self-value shattered right there. And I want people to understand the reason why I stopped him and to share with you the layers of the trauma is to understand, because a person will believe, okay, we're going to step in, we're going to remove that child from the mother's home,
and
we're going to put them in a stable home environment, and then we believe that will be all right. It is not. It is not enough to put that child in a stable home where she is fed and clothed and could sleep safely and peacefully at night. It's not enough.
It is not.
Emotional and mental and physical
still present. That's right.
And we have to address
That's right.
Because when it is not addressed, then we think that we've solved the problem. We have not. We've delayed the suppression of the destruction that's in that child. And
that's right.
When that child starts to go to school,
that's right.
Seem to function and
acting out.
Label that child as
rowdy,
unruly, uncivilized.
That's right.
Then they
and now they're in that cycle.
Insane asylum and tell them they need Adderall and all this other stuff, and no one is dealing with the root issue.
Speak, Queen.
The root.
Speak, Queen. The root cause. Come on now.
Because when you don't deal with it at the root, you
that's right.
A Band-Aid on it.
Come on, Band-Aid.
Honey, when that little girl grows up, you are waiting to feel the rage of those unhealed wounds. You're going to see it swinging around the pole. You're going to see it on the corner. You're going to see it because that's what comes from pain.
So
you're going to see them put their daughter outside.
Come on, the cycle.
Outside. Frame of reference. Go ahead, Dr. Hamilton.
I just want to piggyback on that, Queen. You touched on something. I've heard, our wonderful folks out there that want to help and come and they mean well, but I've heard something over and over again, and I want to address it. Our homeless population, let's be real, no one wants to sleep in the streets. And I keep hearing people say, "Oh, we lost our beautiful," I'll say, Miss Hill under the bridge in Pennsylvania Avenue. She's most popular. Most folks will resonate with her story or identify with it. And they said, "Well, she wouldn't leave. She wanted to be there." Well, that's representative of those layers that you speak on, Queen. No one wants to be there, but after you let folks down enough time, the trust and the reality of how serious trauma and mental health, that is a perfect example. Our homeless populations, no one chooses to sleep in the street. You evolve to that state and the reality of what you have been exposed to get there.
That's right.
And so advocacy is very intricate work, because sometimes you don't have the answer, but you have to have a made up mind and a heart that you're going to serve regardless. And so it is important that when we show up, that we recognize that there are levels to why an individual would choose to be in the street. And we've got to be humble enough to recognize that, there's serious damage there. And it's not as simple as coming along with a clipboard or a couple of pieces of food or what have you. We've got trauma in this city that has to be addressed. And if you need somewhere to start, you just look at the seriousness of the folks sleeping in the street.
What you do. And I want to add here and say, when people are advocating to help, as you are with these programs, please include the counseling, the therapy.
Absolutely.
It has to be a part
Absolutely has to be a part of the
process. It must be at the beginning. You cannot just think that putting clothes on a person who was homeless and hungry and giving them a place to stay and food and shelter.
Exactly.
Good, because the trauma that you're speaking, the layers of it still exist, and it has to be repaired and addressed in order for that person to be what I call built up to be self-sustainable.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you give them a place to stay and some clothes and a food, but you haven't dealt with the real issues. You have not set them up to become self-stable and self-sufficient.
Absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that as well. We talk about trauma and mental health in the same context, but it's important for folks to understand that there are levels to this, and the reality of mental health having the gateways of anxiety and stress, things that are just traditional in our makeup. Those are gateways. When we are unhealthy as adults and when we don't address these circumstances in our living, the suppression that we live through and live with, understanding that there's something that we should be doing about it, we become unhealthy as a people. And so there's a difference between mental health awareness, mental health preventative understandings, and mental health wellness versus mental health illness. And so the reality of being diagnosed, there's an understanding of a progression that happens. And so we're raising the awareness so that you will recognize the patterns in your own behavior, your own living, so that perhaps you can begin to implement such things as therapy, such things as, support groups, such things as healthy diet. Just the reality of what's out there. Darius mentioned at the top of the program, one of the things that the Trauma Center is bringing forward are the reality of the holistic options. It's not always about taking a pill, and the reality of having folks dictate to us what the state of our mental health is and how we should go about doing it. Until we have the knowledge or understanding about who we are, then the truth, the actual remedies are not going to grow for us. And there are many alternatives out there. Yoga, there's wonderful research for how yoga is helping. There's wonderful research for how meditation is helping. We've got to be careful though, because these are not normal conversations in the communities that need them the most. And that's why there has to be a bridging of the gap to bring these resources to our communities, and most importantly, bring us back to the community, because we're connected to the history that many of these folks don't know and don't care about.
They don't. And you spoke about yoga, something that I did in practice, breathing. These are all methods that are also utilized in releasing what I call toxic stored
Absolutely.
trauma energy.
We've got to
Yoga is
adjust
a
the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yoga has
Yeah.
been it is a practice that has been so instrumental in
Mm-hmm.
my own journey of
Mm-hmm.
releasing what I now know was this toxic stored energy
Mm-hmm.
from my childhood trauma
Absolutely.
that was still in my physical body, right? As
Absolutely.
I grew into adulthood, that toxic energy was still there, and it was still having a direction
Yeah.
on my
Impact
decisions and
on your
my
life.
behaviors, impacting my life.
Absolutely.
And so I just, when you mention yoga, I want to just encourage our listeners. You know, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times we think, oh, yoga is for this, but doing it
No.
has another purpose that you may not be aware of. So be open.
Be
Allow
open.
yourself to be open to healing and the way that
Absolutely.
healing occurs. You know,
Yes.
it's multi-level is what I say, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because going for a walk in nature with trees and
Come on
sun and
now.
air is healing. Going by the water, people often question, why am I such a ocean person? Because of the healing that it
Yeah, the
does from my
water.
energy,
Absolutely.
right? The sun, but
Yes.
also yoga, also eating the correct foods
Healthy
can
diet.
have an
That's
effect
right.
on that. What you
That's right.
drink, what you watch, all of that can help from a healing perspective. And so I really want to encourage our listening audience and our viewers to know that when you are in a stressful, traumatic, chaotic space,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know that your self-care is the first thing and it's the most important thing. And
It
that
is.
sometimes means that you need to put yourself first and
Yes.
step away. Step
Yes.
away from the TV, step away from the stove, step away from
Absolutely.
the table,
That's
step
right.
away from people and
That's right.
things that truly do not serve your highest good. And
That's right.
sometimes that can be tough because it means, and it even may feel like, particularly for Black people, because you know, families stick together no matter what,
Yeah.
right? It can
Yeah.
feel like you turning your back on a value that you've been raised with, such as family sticks together no matter what.
Well,
And you need to turn away so that you can get yourself together, get your health, get your peace, get life, your light so it can shine first.
yes. Yes.
Make sure you're
Yes.
well first. So
Yes.
then, as you are stronger and well, you're in a better position to then turn back around to assist those loved
Yes.
ones and those peoples. You can't do it all the time when you're trying to be there, improve your life, and stay and help improve and you feel like you're caught in this tug of war. You are. Because sometimes to really heal in yourself and get yourself together means a separation.
Absolutely.
And
You
that's
said a
not a bad
mouthful.
thing. It doesn't mean you abandon. It means that you love yourself enough to
Mm-hmm.
do what you need to do to make you the priority to be well. So that as
Yes.
you have done that, you're not only well and better for yourself, but you're in a better position to help.
I
So
love that. And you know, you touched on something. You said a mouthful, but I just want to segue and just appeal to your viewing audience out there and say to you guys, if there's someone amongst us that is going through a dark space, if there's someone that is challenged and wrestling with what to do, I want you to know that you have help, you have hope. And the reality is that we need you to be vigilant about your health, be vigilant about being here. Know that you're not alone. And we just feel we can't work fast enough to get this message out wide enough so that folks know that they have a network. It is just so important for folks to understand that you're not by yourself. And whatever it is that you're facing, I promise you that it's not as great as it may feel. We want you to stay with us so that we can help you work through it. We've got to get back to being the humanity that is needed to say what we've been talking about from our coalition standpoint is the preservation of life. We've seen a lot of death with this pandemic. We know that folks are self-medicating. We know that folks are going through it. And we just need to get vigilant about saving lives on all levels. We saw a post went around and a young man was put on fire. We have so many red flag moments amongst us in the community that we don't need anybody to tell us why a capital city emergency level 2 trauma and wellness center is needed in east of the river in DC. Many people are going through it, and we need you guys to know that you're not alone.
I put up on the screen, Dr. Hamilton, an opportunity for folks to donate because we want to raise money. You just talked about to really help this effort. We are not just waiting on people, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this event on Saturday.
Yes.
I was so excited, honored to think that you bring, to our energy and spirit to the table. But I was more excited about the fact that you asked me to be a part of the team, the long-term to make this happen. There was a video that I saw at the beginning of the year. It may have been towards the end of last year, where literally, they have this neighborhood ritual, so to speak, where they literally pick people up and throw them in the dumpster. And they were playing with this young girl and this young lady. They were all going joning, as we do back and forth, which can also is another ramification of children and trauma. And these were teenagers. And these boys picked up this girl, walked her to the dumpster, and dropped her into an empty dumpster. And she was, just imagine somebody throwing you in the trash and thinking it was funny and people are laughing and she's trying to get out of the dumpster and they laughing and videotaping it and getting dapped and tripping and I'm losing my mind while I'm watching this, right? And we get together and we go out, and they had a 3,000, almost 5,000 people on the corner of Georgia Avenue and I think 7th Street to Don't Mute DC. I love go-go music. Dr. Hamilton, you grew up in DC. You born and raised in DC. So you got go-go in your veins, right?
That's right.
We don't talk about whether or not we love go-go music, but I don't love go-go music more than I love my people.
That's right. Life. That's right.
And so this opportunity you have to donate today to the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center. We need $1 to $250 million to $100 million. $1 to $100 million. That's what we need. So anything in that span,
absolutely,
give it up. Give it up. If you can give $1 a day,
I love you.
Put your coffee down. Instead of buying 2 Starbucks, you only buy 1. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you got to do, contribute. We got to take care of.
We got to take care of. Yes, and let me just say, I love you, brother, and you are the right person to come forward on Saturday and bring that level of energy and hold us to it. Absolutely, this is a project for everyone, from like you said, $1 all the way up. The reality is that we're so excited and blessed that in the post-George Floyd era, what we're seeing is a lot of the corporations shift their understandings and focus to the social understandings of what we're dealing with in these communities. And so we want it, as my dear mentor taught me, is you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And so we didn't expect the pandemic, but obviously what we do have as a result of it is the reality of the need, which is so great. And so the reality of the trauma center being available, it needed to be, we felt, a project that the public could embrace, because all too often we are watching and waiting for government to dictate or set the standard, and that's just not enough, we feel. And so the reality again was to bring a project forward that our community could get behind. And there's so much wonderful, wonderful information. There's everything from $5 raffle tickets that give you the opportunity to be on our bronze wall that'll be sitting in the lobby area of the trauma center. I don't want to give too much away because you need to get involved to find out about it. But the reality is that there's so much for them to do. There's a silent auction. There's a peer-to-peer, what we call contest for a wall of excellence for our sororities and our fraternities out there. We've got obviously our platinum and our gold, our silver partners, and we're looking to be able to attract folks on all levels, because at the core of this is the preservation of human life. Never mind black or white. We're saving lives. And as you see these headlines keep going and you want to know what can you do to be a part of it, well, we've got a wonderful project you can be a part of, because yes, it's time. And it's time for us to be vigilant about issues in our community. If we don't care and support them, how on earth can we expect anyone else to care and support them?
Absolutely. I love it. And to close on that and say we have to save ourselves and stop waiting for someone
Come on now.
to come and rescue us. It is our responsibility. And I know D always says this, King Darius always says it starts in the home.
Yes.
And so we understand that we live in a society that has ills just like there are imperfect people. But we have an opportunity here to change that. Every day that you are alive and breathing is an opportunity to be the light and to shift the energy to the positive in your life and in the life of someone else. And caring about other people from a human place is what we all need.
Come
all
on
of
now.
us need that. No one wants to be stranded on the side of the road with no cell service and have cars just keep going by. Not one stop to say, do you need anything? Do you need a phone? Did you need to make a phone call? Can I call someone for you? Every human being that would be in that situation would say they would want someone to stop. That's what it means to care about other human beings. That's what it means to show compassion for another. And while I do understand there are many people with hurt people, as King Darius said, and there are many people in their behaviors and the outward expression of their behaviors is indicative of their unhealed wounds. While we should always extend compassion, we should not make that an excuse or justification for
accountability,
wrong behavior.
That's right.
We must extend compassion, and then in the next breath, extend help for that person to shift and change the behavior.
Absolutely.
Accountability is important.
Accountability.
No one gets to be an adult and keep saying, well, you know, my childhood, my daddy.
Yeah.
Because at some
Exactly.
point, the moment you start saying my mama issues, my daddy issues, that means you are aware.
That's right.
As you said, Doc, in the beginning of the show, you cannot get to the other side unless you're willing to go through it.
Gotta go
the only
through
way
it. Gotta
you
do
can
the
go
work.
through it is to confront it.
Gotta do the work. That's right.
Gotta do the work. You gotta confront it in order to get through it. And believe you me, you're worth it.
Yeah. Oh, amen.
You are
Yes.
so worth it. The
Yes.
best version of yourself is worth you doing the work and having the courage to confront the challenges that are barriers to your best life and your best self.
Amen. And I have to comment on the fact that it's no secret that we're here to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street and the Tulsa Massacre. And I'm so empowered with a project such as this one, because present day, I would beg to believe that there is a capital city emergency level 2 trauma and wellness center needed in many urban cities across this nation, because gun violence is not unique to DC. Drug overdosing is not unique to DC. The traumas that we speak of are not just unique to DC, but the reality of us as a people coming together to bring institutions of healing forward and show the levels of accountability that we seek from our community members is powerful. And so we're excited to be the example in this nation's capital on this 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre. See, we're so caught up in reading the history in the books without realizing we are the living history. And in times such as these, we've got to come forward, as our dear Mr. Lewis said, we've got to come forward and get into good trouble, because it's not always good to stay on the sidelines and stay quiet. We cannot go back to what we saw our dear George Floyd and our others go through. And so we're excited for so many reasons. And thank you for allowing me to share that.
So one of the things we talk about here on the Lights of the Round Table is being bold for good. And
That's
Dr.
right.
Rhonda Hamilton, I thank you and the Healthy DC and Me Organizing Committee for pulling together such a leadership coalition, the Healthy DC and Me Leadership Coalition, for pulling together such a powerful group of people who are being bold for good.
Yes.
Be bold for good. And if you watch this show, share it right now. Copy the link, put it out there, put it on Facebook, put it on YouTube, send it in your email, because we need the donations.
Yes.
But more importantly, we need people to wake up to the fact that we have to take the responsibility upon ourselves, and we have to make sure that we take that extra mile, that we go that extra length, that we spend. You know, the sister sent me a text, and she said, I'm running on fumes. When she broke up this morning, hair done, 7:05 this morning, all pumped up and ready to go, looking good. And she knows she ain't got no ways. I don't have time to be tired.
Got time for it.
I don't have time to be tired. And so, we need that level of energy. And that's why it's so important. We talk about this all the time, to have our circles tight.
Yes.
Because the circles, just like the geese.
Yes.
Right? When they switch off from the point, all that wind, that velocity from those other geese, that energy is pushing them up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with us. We push each other up. That's what we do on the Lights of the Round Table. That's why we call it the Lights of the Round Table. We all sit at the table. We all at a point where we will be taking point. We'll be taking lead. You may have a specialty in this. You may not have that resource, but you have something else you can bring to the table.
Absolutely.
You might not be able to even move. You might not be able to walk, but you can pray.
But you can pray. Amen. Amen.
You can chant all day. Let the wicked destroy the wicked. Let the wicked destroy the wicked. Let the wicked destroy the wicked. Heal our children.
That's
we went to a place yesterday. I'll look to share the picture next week. We went to a place yesterday here in Carousel where they have it's called Buddha Pistal, and it's where the Caribbean Sea, comes in to this. What this whole island was made from lava, from an earthquake. I mean, a volcano, and the volcano underwater formed this massive rock, and this massive rock is still being beat by water. And as it beats the rock, it starts to make enclave. And so it creates caves. And this particular cave, the water comes in and it shoots back up. Well, at this place, they have, they say that if they stack up 7 rocks, if the rocks fall down, then your wish will come true. And as I stack those rocks, the prayer that I wanted to see, the thing that I want to see is peace. Mm-hmm. I want to see peace. That's why I say peace and love, and I don't say HELLO, because I'm pushing peace. I'm pushing love. That's what I'm not running for office. I'm running for peace and love. My entire life is based on that.
That's right.
So I'm encouraging others. We're encouraging others to donate today to Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center. We're about to wrap up the show, but I want you to, we're gonna close out on the video, but I want you to, Dr. Hamilton, first of all, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The conversation between you and Queen Darlene, when we think about the trauma that our children are facing right now, and we don't even talk about. Mm-hmm. I know this is a part of your program. I want you to give us the list of things that you all will be addressing as a trauma center that are currently that are not being addressed at the level that they need to be. There are a lot of nonprofits out there. There are a lot of organizations. There are a lot of government agencies. But in terms of working at from a holistic perspective and not dealing with things, the traditional methods that have not worked. Your retooling leadership, I want you to lay those things out, because one of the things that we don't talk about is the abuse. We had a show coming up where Miss for America 2021 will be coming on the show here on the Lights of the Round Table coming up in a few weeks. And her whole platform is focused on bringing sanitary napkins to the women of incarcerated women in the state of Israel, because those women are not provided sanitary napkins just as a basic health right. They have to share. They have to reuse sanitary napkins. They have to use socks. They have to use whatever they can come up with to create, to aid themselves during their cycle, when the body is going through its natural cycle. Why would you not provide? First of all, it's unhealthy for the woman. Anybody that she's around, it's unhealthy for the staff. COVID travels in fecal matter, in fluid.
Yes.
Okay? And so in blood. And so it's in a,
Jesus.
and that's the kind of thing that just, the men that are being abused, the women that are being sexually abused behind bars, the men that are being raped. I watched a show the other day, a video the other day where the guy talked about he wanted to send Derek Chauvin a message, and if he was coming to jail in Louisiana, he said, we could go get him. I'm not going to use the term he said, but he said I could make a call and have him raped.
That's how they communicate. Yeah.
The mentality of the fact that it would be okay.
Yes. Yes.
That I can make a phone call.
Yes.
To a jail.
Yes.
And in that jail, I can make sure that whomever's there that I want to have sexually assaulted. The mentality that somebody's waiting for a phone call to
carry that out. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's such a common practice that the guards participate in, that the system is aware of, that our community is aware of, and we laughing and we rapping and we singing about the trap, the corner, the pills, the shooting each other. That's what we singing about. That's what we rapping about. That's what we popping bottles to. That's what we shaking our hind parts to.
Yes.
Come on.
No accountability to our babies, but we want them to do something that we're not doing.
And you want children to go to school and act right, but you got a man who just got released from prison who was sexually assaulted or who sexually assaulted somebody else, and now you leaving them home with them while you go to work.
The kids. Come on now. Come on. Talk about it.
Yeah, man.
So
now you're talking my language.
So Dr. Hamilton, as we wrap, please share with us the various programs or projects that you're going to be touching.
Yes.
Like reentry, people who've been abused, people who abused people, who were in a circle of men who sat around and watched another man be sexually assaulted or another woman or another child.
Glory. Thank you, Darius. I tell you, I could talk about this all day, every day, which is why we started the nonprofit work. The truth of the matter is the Trauma Center is designed to be able to address any life-threatening understanding. The Trauma Center is designed to also be able to address, it is a capital city emergency. And I want to touch on that emergency word for a minute, because obviously if you've ever been in a life-threatening situation, you know the importance of the word emergency. But when we were testifying before the Health Council last year, Darius, really quickly, one of the things we realized is that in the nation and in the city, we've got Black men that have a 60% chance more of being diagnosed with diabetes. We've got 2.5 times more of having limbs cut off. We've got 5.6 more times of kidney disease diagnosis. Hypertension, we're 42% more than our white counterparts. Stroke, we're 4 times more likely to have. Asthma, 3 times more likely to be diagnosed. Cancer, 40% more likely. And then our women giving birth, which we know there's a lot of that in our city, east of the river. African women, 43.5% more face the mortality rate than all women in the nation. And so I make the point to say that just from an emergency life-threatening standpoint, we already statistically carry the higher odds for being able to be diagnosed with most of the things that would be or impose life-threatening circumstances. And certainly COVID has exposed that. So a level 2 trauma would allow us to address anything that's life-threatening to get folks to a sustainable understanding before any other transitional or medical practices will happen. You were going to say something, Queen?
No, I was just going to say the way you just explained that, life-threatening. So therefore, people with just anxieties.
Come on now.
That's because it's real.
Life-threatening.
It's a real, what I call it's a low tier or first level of trauma. Right? When people have anxieties about things, it's usually because of fear, right? The unknown. So anxiety has definitely increased in everyone because there is a unknown.
Yeah, and again, the point I'm trying to make or attempting to make is that the center is serving as a hub in our community to be able to be housed or utilized by individuals that are dealing with insurmountable levels of trauma, mental health. You've been shot, you've had a car accident. We've got to stop the reality in this city present day that anything serious is going west of the river. We have a wonderful doctors network that was in the city, and some other logistical reasons why we've lost a lot of prominent necessary care individuals east of the river. And so a project like this, we are seeking to bring them back. And that's the excitement of this, is because the community again has an opportunity to come back to identify with the level of care and standards that they deserve. And that is the only way we will heal this city, if we raise the standards of how and where we spend the money. I was talking to a wonderful group of my colleagues, and we were all on a call. And as I mentioned, being a daughter of addiction, one by one, they begin to tell their stories. And these are wonderful people embedded in our society who's been carrying around their father's alcoholism and what that did to them as a child, but they're in their job as a supervisor now. But who speaks on that? But the reality of all of us of color, knowing the need for a center like this, just by turning a mirror on our own upbringing and our living. Had the money and the programming and the resources been appropriated when my father was struggling with his drug addiction, then we might have the ability to still have him here, have him whole. There are wonderful professionals involved with this project, such as Dr. Chapman. He is 40 years in addiction and internal medicine and helping to preserve life in the city for our dear addicted family members that we tend to see digress and pass on. We've got to change the conversation by changing the narrative, and we can do that. And that's why awareness is so necessary. Darius just mentioned about the young lady with the sanitary. Now, if we can't know everything, but when we do know, we have a responsibility to do something. Something and to change these narratives. And so this Saturday, we're seeking to be able to celebrate that at the Harborside Hotel in Oxon Hill, Maryland. It is the kickoff. It's important to point that out. This is the kickoff event, which means it's intended to be a 6-month journey so that the community can take part in it. And we will wrap up at an end of year holiday party where we will celebrate, unveil the final version of the Trauma Center. We have a fantastic, phenomenal team of architects. You can imagine that we wouldn't dare embark on such a project without talented individuals involved. So I'm just asking everybody to stay tuned, look up everything you can. HealthyDCME.org tells the story of who we are as the organization coming forward with our boldness. CapitalCityEmergency.org is the wonderful website where you can go and find out everything. We've got 12 levels of giving. There is no reason why all should not get involved and then get their family members involved. And if this project needs to come to your jurisdiction or your state, then you definitely need to be involved, because this is how we're going to rebuild in the spirit of the 100 year of the Tulsa Massacre and Black Wall Street. And this Trauma and Emergency Wellness Center is designed to be a hub in our community to help our folks transition to wellness and wellness understandings.
Oh, wow. Well, you said it best, Dr. Hamilton. I am so grateful and appreciative that you made the time to come on the Lights of the Round Table to share with me, King Darius, and our audience where they need to be and where they can go.
Absolutely.
Help they need. I'm not going to say it again. Share this show, because this is for all of us.
Yes.
King Darius.
Hey, well, I'm all pumped up and ready to go, all excited, all grateful as the sun is shining, and I'm just thankful, that God has placed on your heart and those of your organization to stand up and, as you say, on the Lights of the Round Table, be bold for good. If our brother Marcus Johnson was with us, he's traveling at the moment and unable to join us this morning. But if he was here, his heart would be overflowed with just the energy that knowing that somebody's looking to protect children. And my mother, she used to turn the light switch off and on and just talk to me from the light can so easily go out, meaning that everything in life is truly about life and death.
Yes.
And when you think about who's touching our children, who's beating our women, who's raping our family members in jail, who's being set up to be raped. I can just talk about one piece of horror after another, that we kind of just turn a deaf ear to, that we act like doesn't matter, and when we recognize that, when we see that happening at the level that we see it happening, you are stepping in the gap, and not only stepping in the gap, but you're building a bridge.
Absolutely.
To make sure that our children are no longer going to be abused with someone there to help and support them. There's somebody going to be there to love and coddle that child who just watched their brother be shot and killed.
Absolutely.
In our communities, so often, almost 95%, I don't know the number, but what I do know is how I had to fight in certain cities around the state of Maryland and the District of Columbia to make sure that people show up. Because when something happens in Columbine, when something happens in other communities,
come on,
right?
Speak on it, Derek.
There's a whole team of trauma that come in to work with the children, the families, anybody who's been touched by that incident. In our communities, you can watch children ride a bike.
Back to school the next day.
Was shot and killed and gunned down in broad daylight. They outside riding bikes, like there's nothing to it because they used to it, because they deal with it. We talked about what happened in the Middle East and the trauma that those families went through in Palestine and Israel as a result of the barrage of bombs being dropped every single day in the District of Columbia. Every single day in Baltimore, every single day in St. Louis, Missouri, every single day in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes.
Children are watching, running, dodging bullets.
Yes.
And in broad daylight.
Yes.
And watching it happen and take place. And nobody's showing up to make sure that your health, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health is being helped, is being treated. Oh, I shouldn't say nobody, very few. I don't like to generalize. Very few. So on that note, Dr. Hamilton, we're gonna play your video and let people get all the details. For anybody who got a chance to see this show, share it, put it out there. Make sure you understand the value as we celebrate Juneteenth, as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Black Wall Street. Just know this: these things are not happening by happenstance.
Come on,
our righteous ancestors who are opening the doors to make sure that we come forward, no matter what people are trying to do, no matter what mad scientists are out here trying to create. Agent Orange. Just drop this on you real quick. The same people today that are producing food and seeds are the same people who created Agent Orange. Same people who created the weed killer. The people are spreading Roundup are the same people who designed Agent Orange, which killed people, which is still devastating our family members today who fought in the war in Vietnam. That Dr. King said was an unjust war.
Facts.
These are the same people that we're allowing to feed us. The same people that provided these inoculations are the same people who have active cases where they literally used chemicals on people that they knew were going to harm them just so they could go put it in another market.
Oh boy, our history. I tell you,
the doors are open because Dr. Rhonda Hamilton and her team and people all over the world are waking up and recognizing the doors are opening. So just keep being bold for good. Keep loving on one another. Keep standing in the gap, and just don't let, when you see it negativity, you can't touch it, pray about it.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
We work to continuously clean up ourselves. The more we clean up ourselves, the more powerful our prayers become.
That's right. That's
and
right.
the way we clean ourselves up is surround ourselves with people who love and care about us and can help us. We talk about the circle all the time. So, Dr. Rhonda Hamilton, your event is this coming Saturday.
Yes, it is.
4 p.m.
At
the Harborside
Hotel. 6400 Oxon Hill Road. Yes, we're going to put the house down, Darius, and we got an after party. Better ask somebody. We're going to celebrate this Juneteenth. You know how we do. We don't do nothing without some wood. Hey, you know what it is. We can party and take care of business. That's why we're such a threat.
You know.
Hey, shout out to Joel Anderson, all the people, all of our Lights at the Round Table who tuned in. Thank you so much for our Queen Darlene Brown. I give you your parting moments, Queen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so at this time, we're going to share this video that highlights the powerful work that's going to be done this weekend and this year that's coming into fruition.
Yes, we got work to do.
This awesome event that is truly just a blessing to us, you know, and we're so glad that we have people in our world that gives that's willing to be bold for good.
Yeah.
You know, that's willing to step into the gap and create opportunities for our young people and make sure that they know that somebody loves them. Somebody cares. And as my grandmother,
what we say, Darius, you don't just talk about it, you be about it. Sorry.
Hey, as my grandmother was you know, the great old Negro, somebody prayed, spiritual, somebody prayed for me.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Had me on their mind.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And took out time and prayed for me.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they prayed.
Yes.
I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed for me.
Amen.
As am I.
And so we're going to share this link with our good people as the rain starts to come down here in the beautiful island of Curacao, where we're broadcasting live from. And thank you again, Queen, for your goodness. And enjoy this video. We will see you all at the kickoff, the launch this Saturday.
This Saturday, 4 p.m. We in countdown.
All over the country.
It's free.
All over the country. There's parade. Say it again.
It's free. I gotta say that. You know how people are. They hear hotel. It's free.
Right. Make no excuse at all.
None.
You got an opportunity to be a part of the real deal. So get on board.
Yes.
We are ready to rock with it.
Yes.
And there you go. So we're gonna share this video. Kick it off right now. Flat out.
God bless you, beautiful people.
Hello, DC, and hello across the nation. This Juneteenth Day, the Healthy DCME Leadership Coalition is inviting you, that's right, you, to celebrate with us our culture as we boldly unveil and introduce the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center, which is slated to be built in our nation's capital in the spring of 2023. Join me and all of our friends from the community for our fundraising Jubilee event on June 19, 2021, starting at 4 p.m. We're going to rock the Harborside Hotel in celebration of the liberation of
the Harborside Hotel.
Yes, we are.
That's right, free admission to all. Together, June 19, 2021, starting at 4 p.m., we're going to celebrate an end to yesterday's systems of old. That's right. No more standing by while our babies destroy themselves in the communities that we live in. No more carrying our father's burdens. And absolutely no more shame for what, who, or that we are. On this Juneteenth Day, June 19, 2021, that is, join us for a fabulous virtual and live entertainment experience as we bring the house down in the shadows of the National Harbor outside of our nation's capital. Come celebrate with us, in person or virtually. Share this video. Share the message. Our power is our history. It's time to unite. Won't you join this daughter of addiction and schizophrenia? Join our trauma center movement. Help us to re-educate, reintroduce, and retell our stories to help save us. The Push Black organization's depiction of what Black liberation is tells us that we don't get to keep complaining about the gaps in care that we're subjected to or the lower standards that we face with our health care matters of addiction, mental health, you name it. Guys, when will we build our own? Well, the Healthy DCME Leadership Coalition is proud to present the Capital City Emergency Level 2 Trauma and Wellness Center, a facility built for us, by us. Let's celebrate together on June 19th, 2021 at 4 p.m. This event will be live streamed. Find out more at capitalcityemergency.org.
That's it.
Awesome. Yay.
Yes.
We're on countdown.
No doubt about it. Thanks, Frank Bound and Daryl Carter for their support on this event, bringing me to the table and making the connection. Thank you, Darlene Brown, and our very special guest. We trust that this will only be the first time that you will join us as one of the lights of the round table. You'll come back many more moons and sunlights. Thank you so much, Dr. Rhonda L. Hamilton. God bless you in your work, your spirit, your soul, and your family as you continue to be bold for good for our children.
Likewise, brother.
Yes.
All right.
God bless you, bro. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so look, Dr. Rhonda has a show in the background, podcast.
Yeah, palms up. It's such a habit. Yeah. Yeah.
Palms up. So
Tuesdays
sure. And when does it come
at 7
on?
p.m. we go live, and I love this, and I'm looking forward to coming back and, bringing you on our platform. We're going to do this together, brother and Queen, dear Queen.
Thank you, Queen. Thank
No
you,
doubt
Dr.
about it. So check her out Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Palms up.
Palms
and
up.
Make sure you see the lights of the round table.
Yes.
We love you. God bless you. And look, hashtag the lights are on.
Lights are on.
Mental health matters.